Hey, everybody. How is your week going? So, first off, we're trying this new YouTube thing. Let me know what do you think. If it sucks, if you guys prefer Zoom, let us know. If you think it doesn't suck, also let us know so we know that we should keep doing it. Um, we're gonna wait for 5 minutes and then Baha's gonna come in and he's gonna, dive right into the workshop content. Um, you can comment in chat. We can see chat. And yeah, that's basically it. Go grab your water. I think I need to grab mine too, actually. And just listen to some Loki while you're at it. Hey, so we're just about to start the event. I'm going to bring Baha up on screen and we're basically good to go. Remember, you can leave your questions, comments, everything in the chat, and we'll respond as quickly as we can.
All right, thank you, Adi. Welcome to our first workshop of the semester for the Google DC at the University of Arizona. How's everyone doing so far? By the way, guys, we have Discord. We have a Discord server. We've posted the link to that in chat, so you can chat with us and other DSC members, maybe find teammates for the Solutions Challenge. We also have Facebook and Instagram accounts if you want to give us a follow there. You can get all the news and like all the workshops we're going to be working on, so you can attend and stuff like that. All right. With that said, we can go ahead and get started with our workshop. We can bring up the slides right now. That'd be awesome. All right. So today we're going to be talking about FastAPI. And this is a Python framework, which is going to let you make APIs in Python in just minutes. If you're not familiar with what I'm saying, you're probably going to be fine. So why FastAPI? Well, there are a few reasons that I've listed here. There's probably more, but these are the ones that I feel are important to me. The first one is that it's high performance. It's a Python framework, yes, but it's not slow. It's based on Unicorn and Starlet. If you don't know what these are, you're fine. It just means that you're fast. It's just really fast. It's also fast to code, which means that you don't have to write a lot of boilerplate code or anything. You don't have to write a lot of code at all. You can get your first API started in just a few lines of code. It's also designed to be easy to learn. So if you're new to this or you haven't done any like web-based stuff before, you're completely fine. Just follow along. And it's also not a toy. FastAPI is a production-ready code thing. So you can make production-ready code with it. It's not a toy. It also generates interactive documentation automatically, which we're going to be looking at tonight. We're going to be covering a few things today. First, how to install FastAPI, how to create our first API, and we're going to also be looking at the auto-generated documentation. And with that said, we are going to, before we jump right into like how to make our first API, we're going to need to learn a few things in general. These are just 2 slides, don't worry. So first thing we're going to learn is going to be what are paths and what are queries. So if you go to example.com in your browser, if you type that in, what you're doing is you're going to a path in that website. So for example, on your computer, you have a hard disk drive or SSD, and you like click a C drive. That C drive is your root path. That root path is this /. You're just saying that this is the path that we're going to be accessing, and it's no path. It's just the first thing that the website has. For example, like just like google.com, it's implicitly there. You can also access folders in that path, like so. It doesn't look like it, but that's almost what's happening, right? It's just like if you go to C and then you click program files, that's kind of like it. You're going into a folder, pretty much. That's for paths. Now, in addition to paths, you can also include something called queries. These don't change the path, but they add additional information that you want to send to the server. For example, we can do like, well, we're going to cover this. We're going to use it. Actually, we're going to see it work in action. But all I want you to know right now is to have a path, to have a query, you're going to need to add this question mark at the end of your path. So even if you have like a folder, if you have like something after your / or multiple // you're just going to need a question mark, and you're going to need to have specify your key and the value, kind of like a dictionary in Python. You can also have multiple queries via an ampersand. So if you have like a question mark and a key and a value, and you can have an ampersand, and you can add more queries. All right. There's one last thing. We have the HTTP request types. So when you go to your browser, you type google.com, what you're doing is you're telling your browser to send a GET request to Google, and then it's going to take that web page and it's going to show it to you in a nice fashion. That's what get requests are. They're just a way to tell the server, hey, I want some information from you. There's also the put request, which is going to be a request type you're going to be using to send information to the server that you want to store or to update existing information on that server. One last thing that I'm going to have here, just to note, these are not all the request types. These are just some that I've decided to keep here. The last request type I have here is the post request, which is going to be you sending information to the server and checking what the response is. For example, usually when you log into websites, what happens is you type in your username and the password, and the web page is going to take that information and it's going to send it to the server, and the server is going to say, okay, this user is actually registered or they're not. All right, that's all we need to know for now. There's one last thing I want you to do before we get started. If you want to follow along or something, you're going to need to run these two commands in your command line terminal. First one is going to be pip install FastAPI to install FastAPI, obviously. And then the second thing, which is going to be obvious, like how we're going to be using it, is going to be the uvicorn. So you do pip install uvicorn, and then you have that standard thing. Make sure you have that. I'm just going to give you about a minute to get that done, like 45 seconds to get that done before we jump right into that. I'll leave that on the screen for a few seconds. Remember, if you have any questions at any point, even if we're past the slide that you have a question on, or past the portion, you can just ask in chat. We're going to make sure that we cover all the questions, get them answered. Just don't be shy to ask questions. You're good to go. Okay, by this point, I'm hoping that you've already run the commands, at least started to get them running or something. They're also in chat, so you should be good. Right there. I'm going to take my screen off for a few seconds so we can switch to VS Code and we can get started right away. Okay. So let's jump right into this. So the first thing you want to do is to import FastAPI to use it. So it's not just going to be import FastAPI. We're going to do from FastAPI import FastAPI. All right. And we're going to see how that works right now. We're going to do one more thing before I explain what this is. We're going to define an app. You can call this whatever you want, but the important thing is to be assigning this to the value of the FastAPI function. And that's all you have to do for now. What you're doing now, we're going to see exactly how this works in just a second. Here I've defined an app, and my application is called main, or my Python script is called main. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to use the uvicorn thing I just installed, and I'm going to specify what the name of my file is. And then I'm going to have a colon there, and then the name of my app. So if I were to name this anything else, I'd make sure to have that in there. Okay, now I'm going to run it, and it's going to say something, which is nice. It says server started, and let's go to a browser. Let's go to the localhost, which is my computer, if you're not familiar with that. What I'm doing is I'm going to my local computer, and I'm trying to visit the server. This is also a port which was shown in VS Code. Here we go. So if I navigate to there, it's going to say detail not found, which is expected because we haven't really implemented anything so far. But just to prove that this is something to celebrate, I'm going to refresh the page after stopping the server. and it's going to say refuse to connect, which is pretty cool. All right, so we got our first API running, but it's pretty useless right now. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding some functionality. So I'm going to do something which I'm going to explain in just a second. All right. So, okay, what did I do here? I have this thing which is called a decorator. What this does is it adds functionality to the function under it. Okay. What I'm saying is I want this app that I've made to get to have some functionality when there is a get request sent to the root path. So again, this is like going to example.com, is that the root path. All right. I'm just going to add some functionality. And in FastAPI, if you want to respond to whoever sent you a message, what you do is you return something. So for example, here, I'm going to be returning hello world, right? I'm also going to start the server again, and we can go to this. And if we check, it's going to say hello world, right? Notice how it has quotes, which is kind of important. We'll get back to this later. But we already have some functionality, which is really cool. All right, going back to Visual Studio Code. Now, right now, this is pretty useless, right? We really have done absolutely not much, okay, to say the least. So we need to add some functionality to it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take part of the path, and we're going to use that to modify our return. So for example, I'm going to make, so this is kind of like a format string, this portion here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this so I can tell like FastAPI, hey, I'm expecting something to be there, and I want this to be passed into the function. And because I expect it to be passed into the function, I need to have it listed as a parameter. So I'm going to define a parameter which has to have the same name. Otherwise, FastAPI would be confused about like what you're trying to do. And I can also specify what I expect it to be. And this is one of the awesome features of FastAPI because it's automatically going to convert that to the type that we expect. So I can do hello and then name. And what's going to happen, again, is we're going to visit the root path, and then we're going to add some path after that. This is the path parameter. And what FastAPI is going to do is that it is going to take that path and is going to pass it in as a variable, as a string, and we're going to be returning that. So don't forget to restart your server. If you already have it running, turn it off, turn it on again. Now, if I go to any other path, like I say, hello, John. Well, that's not how you spell John, but like, that's my point. We have taken that path and we have turned it into something that we return. All right, that's pretty cool. What about queries? I mentioned queries before, but I haven't actually done anything with them before. So if I remove this portion from here, and I still leave this here, FastAPI is smart enough to realize that you're not trying to get a path parameter. So it's going to try to give you, it's going to make sure that you get any query that has the name, right? That's all you need to do. So if I restart here, and I go here, and if I do this, it's going to say not found because I don't have any functionality in this path. But if I do nothing, if I go to the root path and I have a question mark and I say name equals, we get that. Hello and my name. So again, now what we've covered so far is using path parameters and query parameters. Again, if you have any questions about this, make sure to ask them in chat. We're going to answer all of them. All right. Now that we've implemented that, we can have something a little bit more exciting. How about we say, we check if someone can get a driver's license. So we can say, can get driver's license. We're going to see how that name of the function is important in just a bit. And what we're gonna do is let's take the name from the path, and let's do an age. Let's take an age. And let's tell FastAPI that we expect this to be an integer, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to check if this user, if the age is more than 16 years old, which is last time I checked the minimum age you have to get a driver's license. We're going to return, you can get a driver's license, and then we can do first name. And then else, we're going to do return, you can't get a driver's license. All right. Now notice how I am comparing with an integer here, because I don't need to cast it to a string, because I've told FastAPI that I expect it to be an integer. What it's going to be doing is it's going to be automatically converting it to an integer for me before passing it in, which is pretty cool. I don't have to have any casting code or anything. So let's try this out. Let's do same thing. Let's do John but properly this time. And then let's have a query path. We have a query. We have this path. And we have the query, which is going to be age. And we don't need to do anything special. All we need to do is we need to indicate what age we're going to be sending to the server. So for example, if you do 25, it's going to say you can get a driver's license, John. If you do 14, you can't get a driver's license. So we already have some functionality, which is, I mean, pretty cool for like, what, 10 lines, including white space? Really good, really cool. All right. Let's take a break here from coding and let's check the documentation that FastAPI generates for us. So if you go to the docs path in your server, what you're going to notice is that there is a documentation, and it's interactive. So for example, here you're going to see that it says can get driver's license, which is derived from the name of the function that we have defined right here, can get driver's license. You're going to notice that this is the name that is allocated to it in the documentation. We can also do something really cool. We don't need to play with the query strings or whatever ourselves. We can have the documentation do that for us. So we can click the try it out button here, and we can specify a name and an age, and we can click execute. And what's going to happen is it's going to send that request to the server, and it's going to tell us what the response was, along with some additional information, like examples if you specified that, but we're not going to cover that now, and like how an error would look like in case you get one. Now that's pretty cool, but we also have another documentation that's generated for us. You will find it in the redoc, redoc path of your server, right? The last one was DOCS, in case you couldn't see that on my screen. This looks a little bit different. I'm not quite sure how I can, like, if this is interactive. But like, that's another style you can go for if you want to. All right, back to coding. So we can now add some more interesting functionality. Let's do something else. Let's have a fake database. Let's make a fake database. I'm going to make a dictionary called people, and I'm going to use that people dictionary as a fake database. And we're going to be adding some functionality. Remember when I said that if you want to add, if you want to send data to a server for it to store, you might want to use the put request. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be adding functionality to our app, and the request type is going to be put. And let's try something a little bit more diverse with the path. Let's say add and then maybe. So we're gonna be showing exactly how that works if you're not following. We can also define a function, which is gonna be like add person, and we're gonna specify that we're gonna expect a variable that's gonna be called name, and we expect it to be a string. We also expect an age, which is going to be an integer. And we can also say like expect a gender, but like we're going to do that in just a few minutes. So how do we go about this? All we need to do is we're going to go like people. This is the dictionary. So I'm just going to say for the key name, set a value equal to age. That's all I'm going to do for now. And I'm going to return. I don't really need to do this, but I'm going to do this just to show that it worked. I'm going to say name, his name, and age is 8. So it's going to just echo the things that it received. All right, now if you go back to our command line, fill this thing. Again, the command is unicorn, and then the name of your app, or the name of the program without the .py, and then the application, the name of the application defined. If I press enter, that's going to run again. Now let's go back here. If I go to the documentation again, you're going to notice that we have a new entry here. It's automatically generated. And I can try it out here. But just to show you exactly how it works, we're going to do this in Chrome the manual way. Oh, wait, I can't because this is a pull request. Again, I mentioned that browsers usually do get and post requests. I don't know about pull requests. So let's click try it out and enter a name and an age. Click execute. And as you can see, we have my name and an age here. Now, what we forgot to do, or what I forgot to do, is we don't need to get anything here anymore, except the name, the age, yeah, the name, sorry. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to go into that fake database. We're going to look for that name, and it's going to return the age, and we can compare that immediately. So let's just refresh that too for good measure, and then we can add. We need to add myself again. Let's do 25 this time because it's a dictionary and it gets wiped out right after you turn off the application. So we have myself in there. And we can just say, okay, check, can this person drive? Oh yeah, they can get a driver's license. Right. That's the functionality we added. We can store information right now. Now, one more thing I want to point out is FastAPI doesn't return Python dictionaries. It returns JSON strings, which means that whatever FastAPI returns is standardized in a way so that even if the application that is talking to the server isn't written in Python and maybe they have some other exotic implementation of dictionaries, it's not going to matter because it's standardized in a sense that any language can use it. So let's do that again. What I did here is I removed the double quotes and I've added single quotes just to demonstrate how FastAPI changes that. I'm going to execute here, and you're going to notice that it's still double quotes. That's because that's the standard for JSON. Okay, doing good so far. Does anyone have any questions that would that they'd like to ask? Right now, we're going to take just a few seconds here to take a break. Like, think about what you learned. Do you have any questions? If so, we'd be glad to answer them. Okay, I'm going to move on, but if you have any questions relating to this or anything we did before, please make sure to ask them. It's fine. All right. So what if I want to ask for something optional? So far, what we've done is if I can't just go here and not send the name, it's required. And I can't just go here and not include an age because it's also required. What if I want to do something that I have a question here. Will the demo code be posted anywhere after this? We can post it. Yes. Are you in the server? Are you in the Discord server? If you are, I'm gonna make sure that you get it. All right. Yeah, there's a banner for the Discord server right now. Okay. So what we were talking about was making optional parameters, things that I'm not required to have or like to get sent. So for that, we're going to need to import something else, which comes with Python. And it's the optional, we're going to do from typing, import optional. And you don't need to install anything for this. This comes with Python, so you're good to go. And we're going to add an extra parameter here, which is going to be gender. And we're going to say we expect this to be, and instead of specifying a type like string or int, we're going to say optional. And then we're going to have the square brackets. And then we're going to say what we actually expect the variable to be. So if we expect this to be a string, that's fine. And we can set a default value, which for this instance, I'm going to say is equal to none. So again, to go over what's happening now, we have an optional parameter, which we expect to be a string. So FastAPI is never going to send us something that is an integer. For example, if someone says, my name is John, my age is male, and my gender is 12, right? It's going to send him an error because it cannot convert these things to integers and strings, respectively. So what we're going to be doing now is we're just going to be adding that. We're going to be adding the gender here. And we can also specify, like change this a little bit so it's a dictionary inside. And we're going to say, okay, so the age is going to be age, and the gender is going to be the variable gender, right? So far, so good. Okay, looking good. So let's restart. Let's check here. Let's refresh the documentation. And let's check if it says not required. Okay, so if you notice here, for age and name, it says required, and I cannot send anything if I don't include these. And if I try to, it's going to give me an error, even if I'm not using the documentation. For gender, however, it's optional. So I can click try it out. I can do like age, gender, male, or I cannot include it at all. And then I'm going to click execute. We have that information in there. And we can go ahead and like, hey, let's do that. Oh, okay. So it says the code is 500, which means internal server error, right? But this doesn't mean that your server crashed. All it means is that there was an error and I cannot serve you. The server doesn't actually stop working after one error, like other programs do. It just continues running, but it prints the error out. So it prints the whole error here. We're going to look at the bottom part. It says type error, the greater than operation is not supported between instances of dictionary and integer, which is nice. Okay, so yeah, what we forgot to do here is this is still a dictionary. People, like the key name inside people, has a dictionary. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to compare a dictionary with an integer. That's what I forgot. So we're just going to need to add that. And we should be good to go. I just need to restart to get the new updates. And we need to add that information again. You don't really need to restart to refresh the documentation. If you restart your server, you're good. Okay, yeah, it continues to work, which is amazing. Pretty cool. It continues to work. Now you can add some functionality here, like maybe using that gender or something. I'm gonna do one last thing. I'm just gonna have an endpoint to get that information of that person. Again, I'm just gonna add functionality to my application. I'm going to add that functionality to get requests in this path. So /get / and then some name. Whoops. And then we're going to define a function under that, which is going to be like get person information. And then we're going to say we expect a name, and we expect it to be a string. And then all we're going to need to do really is we're going to return people, the key name in the dictionary people. And again, if you have any questions about anything we've done so far, feel free to ask in chat. So that's what we're going to be doing just to see like internally how it works. If I don't remember if I did. Okay, so if I restart the server, I'm going to refresh this for good measure. And I'm going to add a person, but I'm not going to include a gender this time. We can do that. Execute. Again, we got something nice. And again, notice how this is null. Oh, now I realize that the function we made was probably pointless, but it's a good learning experience. I'm going to show you why. It says null, not none. Again, this is because JSON is standardized. So any application can take that information that you're sending out and can interpret it to get information out of it. Now, we can use the try it out feature here, but I'd rather do something else just to make everything clear. It says age 18, gender null. Okay. What I want to do is I want to show you how like that would work if you would do it like via Chrome, via a GET request. So same thing here. All I'm going to do is here's my local host, which is my computer here. Localhost is just you. It's also 127.0.0.1, and that is the port that our server is running on. And all we need to do is we need to type get, which is the path that we specified when we made the server. And then we have to pass in the path parameter that we've defined. And here we go. It works perfectly fine. Now, that's about all I have for today. I have another example where I've made a store. Here, this is pre-written, but you should understand everything that we have in here if you've been following along. We have a fake database, two fake databases here, and the user inputs like what item. It's not the user, it's supposed to be another application. They enter like what item are they expecting? Are they willing to order a banana, or is it an orange, or is it water? And then they also specify as queries the type of store. Is it online or is it not? I'm expecting a Boolean here, so it's going to return true or false automatically for us, and the order amount of how much you're willing to order. And then it's just going to check like if the store is online, then set the store to the online database. If it's not, set it to the physical database, and just check if there's enough of that item for the person to order. That's about all I have for you today. We're going to wrap up right now. If you have any questions, again, feel free to ask in chat.
Yep, for sure. Ask any questions you have in chat. We have this Q&A right now. Also, fill out the post-event survey, because that really does help us, understand if you would have, for example, like to do this over Zoom instead of how we did it over YouTube today, or just how you felt about the event in general. Join our Discord and stuff. And there are actually questions in chat. So let me pull those up. Is it safe to save data in that way?
I don't understand exactly what you mean by safe. Is it safe in like, you mean like from hacking or something? Is it safe? No, because this will go away once you turn off the server or you turn off the application. It's just going to completely go away. This is stored in your RAM. It's not stored in the disk. That's why I said it's a fake database. Other than that, for security, I haven't covered anything related to security in this workshop. I highly, highly recommend that you check out the documentation for FastAPI, because it has like security related features. So for example, if you had user authentication that you wanted to implement, it can handle that, most of that automatically for you, given that you already have a database running. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the answer to the question.
And you might even, I think this is something you might even be able to couple with like technologies like Firebase, which like actually handles that authentication and stuff for you in the back end. And like you could like combine the two, run this as a web app there, sort of thing. Another question from Nathan: how would we go about deploying this to a public web server? Is it similar to Node.js?
Mm-hmm. To a public web server, I think the process for all of them is the same. You just make sure, so right in this configuration that we're doing right now, it's not gonna receive any requests from someone outside your network. What do you want to make sure that it's doing is if you go to the FastAPI documentation, you're gonna notice that, or like more of the unicorn documentation, but I think it's available in both. So you're gonna notice that you can specify what IP address it listens to and what port. So if you specify that the IP address is like 0.0.0.0, it's going to be listening on everything, and it's going to respond to public requests, given, of course, that you're allowing the application to listen to the ports from external places. So, for example, if that's your computer, that you have port forwarding enabled and that you're forwarding that specific port. But yeah, it's about the same process for everything. It just listens to that IP address in the port, and it processes that information, and it sends a reply.
Yep. Okay. Do we have other questions in chat? Also, if your question wasn't answered, feel free to ask again. We can circle back to it. Just gonna see it. Not. Otherwise, I think we're like 3 minutes away from when we schedule this event to end. So if you have any questions, stick around. Otherwise, thank you for coming. Remember to fill out again the post-event survey. Remember to join our Discord. Please leave feedback about our events and everything that we do. It really helps us, put together more organized and more informative events in the future because we learn from everything we make mistakes in. So it does look like there are no more questions.
You're welcome.
Yep. Looks like there are no more questions. So I think this is going to be the end. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Baha, for a great workshop.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys at the next one. I think we have a machine learning event coming up really soon. You guys will see the event thing for that. The survey link is going to be sent via email right after the event ends or in 15-20 minutes. You'll see it, and you can just go fill it out there. But besides that, thanks for coming. We'll see you at the next one.